Hey guys, it's Claire, and it's been a minute since I've sat down for a video. I've been super busy writing my book, which the first draft is done and my readers have it and I'm so excited. This lighting is so bad and I'm so sorry. I need to buy a light, but we are going to go over the best books I've read in 2024. Now, normally when I do my monthly recaps, I don't have any spoilers, but for this one, I'm gonna give a little bit of spoilers. Ooh, the first book that I loved this year was No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I got chills during this book, and I don't have the physical copy because I've been trying to get it back from the person that borrowed it. So, Anna, if you're watching this, I'll come by, pick it up from your mailbox. I don't care. Can I have my book back, please?
Sorry.
Like, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I really would want my book back, though, if you're not gonna read it. But then we get into, like, books that I'm just, wow. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, everybody. I went into this being like, I don't really love historical fiction. Like, everybody's talking about this, and all the books that everybody loves, like ACOTAR and what other books does everybody love? I normally hate, right? And so I start the book and I don't know how to describe it. It's like, this is so hard to, it's kind of a mixture of watching Challengers and then watching the TV show version, the very last episode of Daisy Jones and the Six. That is how I picture reading TJR books, especially the Famous Four books. Like, she's, you know, in the present, we're talking, boom, title screen comes up, we're in the past, we're learning information. Like, that is literally how my brain visualizes this book. And when you find out the ending and when you figure out what happens, okay, I need to go over this a little bit. So basically, Evelyn Hugo is a famous actress. She's like, what, like the Audrey Hepburn of the time, maybe someone a little more famous, I don't know. But she's very famous, everybody loves her, and she hires this writer to write an article or a book, I don't remember what it was. I have the memory of an ant, to talk about her life, and everyone's so curious, you know, why she married all these people and blah, 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 blah. Well, she's got a reason, and when you find out why she picks who she picked, I cried. I cannot recommend any of her books enough. There's only one of them that I read that I did not enjoy, and that was Malibu Rising. Every other book of hers that I've read, I've enjoyed. I have, I think, Evidence of the Affair and one other one left to read. Like, not a one-hit wonder, she's just everything. And then we have to get to my absolute favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book is Daisy Jones and the Six. The show does not live up to the book, but it's still wonderful. The last episode's probably the best episode because that's how I see the book in my eyes. It's just so good. So basically, it's like a kind of, you know, fictional retelling of Fleetwood Mac, but they're different people, obviously. They're trying to make music together, you know, it's the 70s, there's drugs, everybody has sex with everybody, you know how it is, right? Well, someone is doing an article and like interviewing these people about what really went down because the band broke up, and that Daisy Jones and, God, I can't remember any of their names. Billy, they don't talk for years, right? And so this is this person's effort to get everybody to kind of like talk and stuff like that. And when you find out the ending, oh my God, I can't spoil it. So I'm gonna cry right now, but the very end, there's a letter written, and what is said to Billy is just like, I can't even. It's so perfect. I think Riley Keough did a great job playing Daisy Jones. Like, I really don't know who else I would imagine in that role, but Daisy Jones, by far my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I did not think anything would top Seven Husbands. I was wrong. Then I read Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, and I had, you know, oh my God, I'm still crying. Didn't have the highest expectations going into this book. Like, thrillers for me, I either am obsessed and I read the whole thing in a day, or it takes me 5 months and then I, you know, end up DNFing. So interesting. You have, like, you literally cannot figure out who it is until the very end. And then when you do, it's crazy. I cannot talk about thriller books without spoiling, but the girl goes missing. They're trying to find her. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Then we get into probably my second favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, Carrie Soto is Back. I read this and then I went to watch Challengers and I was like, this is like very, very similar. But whatever, you know? No, they're very different, but like the vibes are very similar because it's tennis and like it's like going back and forth between timelines. It is so good. I cried so hard. It's about a famous tennis player who is trying to get back into it. Like, she retired and she's coming out of retirement and her dad's her coach. And then, you know, we realize maybe your dad shouldn't be your only coach, but she's got a big match coming up and she's trying to beat her rival. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. What's up? I'm talking to my camera. Then we get into probably the biggest tearjerker of the entire year, the very first Abby Jimenez book I've ever read just for the summer. All her books kind of are in the same universes, so you should probably read them in order, but like you don't have to, like you're not gonna miss too much, just a little references between the books. I don't think I've ever cried as much as I cried when reading this book. Maybe Life's Too Short I cried a little bit more during, but Abby Jimenez is just, she's one of a kind. Like, she's so nice, she's so funny. I had the opportunity not to meet her, but like go to one of her book tours and like watch her speak and stuff. I just didn't pay for the package where you can meet her because you had to stay all weekend. And then after we did it, Karen was like, we should have met them. And I was like, you think, bitch, you think.
Acceptance.
But, basically what happens in this book, and I'm sure most of you have heard about this book if you've not read it. Basically, this girl dates people and then they break up, and then whoever she dated goes on to like meet who they're gonna marry, and then she goes on Reddit and finds out that there's someone who has the exact same problem. She's a traveling nurse. They decide, why don't you travel to Minnesota, you know, where the author's from, and, you know, see if it works, blah, 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 blah. And it's so, I just, like, I would love to say I hate romance books, but like authors like this is why I don't hate them. Then I read Funny Story by Emily Henry, probably one of my top 5 most anticipated reads of this year. I did not think anything would beat Happy Place, but Happy Place has been dethroned, everybody. And a lot of people agree it's either Funny Story or Happy Place are like the top 2 Emily Henry books. So like if someone's like defending Happy Place to the end being the best, I'd be like, yeah, girl, yeah, I get it. Like I have no argument there because they're both so good. But basically, some cheating happens, and she moves in with the guy whose boyfriend was like the person she was supposed to marry, person she cheated with. That's a lot of words, but it's a big you to the people that cheated on them. And it's so funny, and I love the very ending, and I read this in like what I read that month, but the ending is like so cute, and that's where I got the idea to do the ending for my book, where you read the last sentence and it takes you to be reading the book again. Hi, Pookie! Funny story, he says, but he doesn't go on, just watches me and waits. He knows how much I love to tell it, and then it gets you to go to the, yeah. Yes. Just yes. Then I listened to Finding Me by Viola Davis, and I'm not a huge nonfiction person. I only like biographies, like the autobiographies, but listening to Viola speak and talk about how she had to deal with racism and things like that growing up, and just people not taking her seriously because she's a woman. Like, yeah, it's a very difficult read, and if you're not ready to hear how like violent the past of hers was, like, don't read it. But she's a legend, she's an icon, and I cannot recommend her book enough. I will not say anything about what's in the book. You just need to go read it. There's so many trigger warnings for like sexual assault and racism and violence and things like that, but if you're gonna take away anything from this video, it should be to read Viola Davis's book. Then I read Margot's Got Money Troubles, and I feel like sometimes book of the month books I am a little weary about. Like I'm like, are they gonna be good? Are you kidding me? Margot's got, like, this is so crazy. So basically her professor knocks her up and he's like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm not paying for that baby. Like, don't tell my wife, don't ruin my marriage. You know, piece of shit. And so she drops out of school because he's like gonna fail her in the class because he's an asshole. And so she needs to make money, and so she decides to become an OnlyFans creator, and it is so funny. It is great. Like, I cannot recommend Margot's Got Money Trouble enough. Then I read my second Lisa Jewell book. None of this is true. What was the other one that I read? You Won't Believe This or something like that. I'll put the title on the screen. Where like the baby gets kidnapped and then the grandma ends up being her mom. It's like crazy. But basically this is about two people who share a birthday and they decide they're gonna start a podcast together, and everything that they tell each other are basically lies, and you kind of have to deduce, like, it's like two unreliable narrators, and I love unreliable narrators. Like, I will always use Gone Girl as like the perfect non-reliable narrator reference, because Amy Dune is the queen of being an unreliable narrator. I mean, Nick's not any better, but at least he's like, I don't know what's going on, so I'm gonna try to interpret it. But I love Lisa Jewell, and I need to read more of her books. Then I finally listened to Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's such a sad book. It took me 3 or 4 times to be able to finish the movie. Like, I'm like, this is boring. You gotta get through like the first 20 minutes. But, oh, it's so good. Like, oh, it's so good. It's so good, it's so good, it's so good. It basically is talking about like sexual assault, but it's not being spoon-fed to you. You kind of have to figure out when and where that happens. And so, very interesting. Then I read Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Oh, it's so good. Basically, this girl's trying to get home from college, and she ends up having to like carpool with somebody, and he's actually like a bounty hunter, like sent to kill her, and it's crazy because like all the chapters go like interior, meaning they're in the car, and then exterior, meaning they're outside the car, and then the point of view switch where, you know, because he's originally exterior and she's originally interior, and then it switches when like the roles of power, like the power dynamic shifts. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as The Only One Left, and I don't, but it is certainly very close. Really? You can't eat that, bitch! No. Then I finally listened to Suicide Men by Frida McFadden. I could not find this in any store, but it was probably like, other than The Housemaid, maybe after like Never Lie. I'm trying to think of all her like really big ones, like one of her really big ones. And I had little hopes because Frida McFadden is either a hit or a miss, and I kind of have the feeling that she is on the making money train right now because everything she's released this year has been garbage. And like every 6 months she's releasing a new book, and like, why is my hair doing that? But Suicide Men, one of her earlier ones, very, very, very good. Then I was catching up on my book of the month, and I read House of Glass, and I did not have high hopes for it, but oh my god, is it so, so good. Like, it actually has a happy ending. Like, you won't believe who actually does it. Oh my god, I love this book so much. And then finally, I want to talk about Dirty Diana. Slim pickings on book of the month these past few months, but it is about this woman whose marriage is going to shit, and her husband turns out to be a piece of shit. Go figure. And she uses her art and like the way she depicts art to kind of help her through this time. And there's a sequel, and normally I don't care about sequels, but the sequel is about her finding her past love again, and like, I don't know if they're gonna reconcile or not. I was kind of rooting for the husband until the mistress became a giant bitch. And now I'm not rooting for him. So good. Read it literally in a day. I'm currently in the middle of reading The Wedding People, and I honestly want to include this because I have, that much left. I really think it's gonna be in the top books this year as well, because it is literally wonderful. It is about a woman who has basically failed everything in life. She cannot have children. Her husband doesn't love her anymore because she can't have children. Piece of shit. And so she goes to an expensive hotel to try to... You get it. I'm not gonna say it and get demonetized, but you get the point. And then she meets everybody from this wedding, and it's going great so far. Like, I love it. But those are the best books I read in 2024. Yeah. I hope you'll come with me for 2025, but if not, I understand. There's lots more better YouTubers out there who know how to speak English.